and today was messed up.
I was gonna say
Hey,
something.
what
but
class you doing at noon?
I had a sculpt class.
Oh, that okay. As he looks at his bicep, he's
I
All
ran
right.
5 miles a day. That's all.
there you go.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, we're going to talk about some movies that have impacted us profoundly, that you can go out and watch and probably feel the same way as John Fosco, or feel the same way as Maurice Claret, or feel the same way as Corey G. And of course, it's brought to you by shop.bstseafood.com. If you want fresh East Coast seafood delivered straight to your door overnight, use the code BIZBIS15 to get 15% off at shop.bstseafood.com. If you want to get big biceps like John Fosco, go to maxeffortmuscle.com for all your supplement needs. And we're going to have a new product coming out here soon. Johnny, tell them about it real quick. I mean, this is super new.
Yeah.
No one really knows, but we might
Yeah.
as well just talk.
And
Should
we
we
don't-
talk about it now?
Yeah, man. I mean, we
Okay.
don't talk about products really before they launch, but this one's not just for the weightlifter. I think it's for everybody, especially people who wake up every morning and go to work, right?
Yes.
So we've built just a cognitive enhancer that is naturally occurring and will help you focus and last for a long time, doesn't have a crash, and just makes your workday easier without jamming caffeine. See, we all jam caffeine, we drink coffee, we drink Monsters. That shit'll add up. It's not healthy to take a shit
You don't drink
ton of-
Monster anymore because you drink energy from Max Effort.
For the most part, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, but this stuff's like clean cognitive enhancement, and I know our base is going to love it, and I think we're going to bring in a lot of people based on the product. I know Mo tried it.
Yeah, I tried it. Coincidentally, cleaning my damn house.
Yeah. Hey, that's when
I
you
told
know.
you, I said if you're cleaning your
That's
house,
when you
take
know.
it.
So it's like if you take it
Yeah.
and you do stuff like paperwork
Yeah, no.
or cleaning.
Yeah, so I was at the table and I was like, man, I should take this joint. It was probably 5
It wasn't
o'clock.
a joint, just to make sure.
Yeah,
you
it wasn't
guys
a
know.
joint.
We really make a lot of money, John.
Yeah, no. So it was definitely now for those who are listening, it was probably 5 or 6 o'clock, and I didn't know the effects of it. I was like, am I taking it too late? And then
Because there's no caffeine, so.
yeah, so I didn't know. You know, I didn't know. But for the listener, 5 or 6 o'clock seems late when you're getting up at 4:45. That's kind of like the tail end of your day. You know what I'm
For
saying?
sure.
And so I took it, and I didn't feel like cleaning up anything in the house. And I literally got up and just started packing boxes and getting everything together. And then I was curious. I said, man, I wonder what this would feel like if I just wasn't tired. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you're already rested and woke up, I would imagine that the effect would probably, be more than what it is. And this is not a paid sponsorship.
Yeah.
No, this is just real stuff.
Admin times 20. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. So let's start off by, John, you talked about,
Yeah.
we had the episode where we talked about books that had, impacted us, and people were able to go out and read the books, and you mentioned maybe some movies or music, but
Sure.
I think we should start with movies. Talk about one, we'll each go one movie that kind of like, I don't know, kickstarted some stuff for you, motivated you, or whatever.
Sure. So I've said many times my favorite actor is Daniel Day-Lewis, and there was a particular movie, I think it won Best Picture in 2007 or 2008, There Will Be Blood, and it was about a guy who had no money, was out in the desert, just drilling for oil, barely could eat every night, and then he hit it. And then he turned it into a business. And then he became the biggest competitor of like the biggest oil company. So he went from nothing to a juggernaut in a true entrepreneurial way. Throughout the process, he adopted a son, and you saw a guy go from a hardworking, blue-collar, just simple, happy dude to this monster who would cut your throat, essentially, to take over more land and to grow his business. And he became so competitive in an unhealthy way that he started acting irrationally, and his business got so big that he thought that was the be all end all. And what it really showcased to me is like, okay, if you go out and you set out for these goals in business to try to just, take over the world, quote unquote, and get to a level where no one can touch you, there's a huge, huge part of your life that is going to be out of balance if you're not aware of it previously.
Mm-hmm.
And he lost his relationship with his son. He basically ended up, spoiler alert, he ended up in the biggest house you've ever seen, alone.
Is this a true story?
It's not a true story.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm sure it's happened before.
Yeah, he ended up in the biggest house you could ever imagine, alone, with a son who just wanted his support, and the dad was so focused on, still even into his 70s himself, that his son left him with a broken heart, and he ended up murdering someone at the end because he was so emotionally empty, because he thought everything was about building a business, that he essentially died while he was alive. That's how I interpreted it, because he missed the point of life because his business was his be-all, end-all. And I think we all can fall into that trap if it's like, oh, business is going well, I am the business, It's like, no, there's always this other area where you have to interact with people and value how you treat people and all that stuff. And this was just a great picture of when you lose sight of everything and just focus on the business. You could lose your son, you can lose your wife, and then you're alone in a 50,000 square foot house.
What's the name of the movie, John?
There Will Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood. Good, Mo.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a question, but you said I'll stop right there. I'll come back in a minute because I had like 50,000 questions as he was talking.
No, go ahead, Mo.
No, no. I mean, as he was saying, I was thinking like, damn, am I that way right now?
You're not that way, Mo.
I mean, just oftentimes, like as he was saying, I was like, man, I can identify with walking in the house and just being so out of touch with what's going on because I'm worried about the business. You know what I'm saying? And it may not be to that extreme. Movies obviously, what do? They
mimic life.
They mimic life, but then they also dramatize stuff.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But if you take all the drama off of it, I was asking myself, I was like, shit, is that my life? You know what I mean? Where the business and growing the business and thinking that the business is the end-all, be-all that you miss so much. Mm-hmm. But then, like...
But you have a moral compass.
Yeah.
This dude had no moral compass. It
Gotcha.
was like, I'll cut your throat to take over more land.
Nah, I ain't got that.
By any means.
Nah, I don't do
right,
that.
Right.
One movie, and still to this day, it still is my favorite movie. Not my favorite movie, but... Because, I'm not... If this makes any sense... I watch. I think I watch more documentaries in life than anybody. Yeah. But I
think
enjoy.
That counts, Mo. Or if it's a documentary.
I don't know
or
if people classify. I don't know how people. Or I don't know how people classify movies. But one of my favorite movies. And as I grow and mature, I understand the significance even more. Was Boys in the Hood, and it's still and it still is. But it's funny how in life. Growing up, like just to see that imagery on TV, I was like, wow, this like represents, like I'm not from California, but this represents my neighborhood in some capacity. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about the violence and you seeing people trying to get out, like with Ricky wanting to go do his thing and play football and eventually getting caught up, and Trey having a positive father. We had a guy in our neighborhood like that. His name was Darnell, who had his father trying to, keep him on track amongst other things. And I can remember, and I don't want to get into too many movies, but I can remember around that time, I'm like, wow, this is powerful, just because you had seen Juice, but Juice wasn't a story like Boys in the Hood was a story.
Yeah. But you could place people from your neighborhood in those exact roles.
In those exact roles.
Amazing.
But as I got older, and so when you're younger, you're trying to identify and say, okay, which person do I most identify with? But you don't realize that you're trying to say which person do I most identify with. But as I get older and you start to understand the significance when, when Trey got out the car when they were getting ready to go kill the guys at the end of the movie. You know, when they're getting ready to do the drive-by, and you start to see how his father took him away from his mother, or the mother dropped him off with the father to say, hey, you know, I don't want you living like your friends. I don't want you doing the foolishness. And as I get older, and I remember the scenery, he was like, you know, why do you think they have a liquor store in every corner? Why do you think they got a gun shop and they want you to kill yourself? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, you know, you go to Beverly Hills, you don't see that shit. And so as I hear this stuff and I think about this stuff, like, you know, you think about this, you know, you go to New Albany, you don't see a liquor store in every corner, you don't see gun shops on every corner, or you go into your more affluent areas. And so from a social standpoint, how I identified the movie as a kid in comparison to how I identified as an adult, you can appreciate good filmmaking, you know what I'm saying? But it just shows you how your perspective can grow. How you can tell a lot on what you catch on with or latch on with based upon where you're at in your life. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you're young, you want to be the tough guy, the thug, you want to be
The alpha.
You want to be the alpha male. You know what I'm saying? Because it makes sense. And like nobody in my neighborhood wanted to identify with Trey. You know, nobody wanted to have the responsible father. Nobody wanted to do that. Everybody wanted to be the guy, shoot 'em up, bang, bang, you know, all that stuff. But as you grow, you have kids. And as you start to think responsibly, you start to think about how his father came back and started to describe, like, you know, what his friends were into and what their mothers was into and what it all came to and come from it. You know, start to make you think like, wow, you know, I guess your perspective is supposed to end there. Where it's supposed to be having more responsibility and consciously care about, you know, what goes on, what people consume. But I can see how, and this is just something internally, I can see how some people held on to certain roles in those movies, made decisions, but went to prison for the rest of their lives. You know what I'm saying? You think about this, and I don't want to get too far into a bunch of movies, but around that time you think about just where rap music was at. You think about Minister Society. You think about Juice. You think about all these things people want to identify with Old Dog. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants the Sharif role from Minister Society. I'm talking about two different movies for people who don't know. I'm talking about Minister Society when we're talking about Kane, Old Dog, and Sharif, and then you're talking about I forget what Ice Cube's name was, Doughboy, and Boys in the Hood. But like how these movies impact you as a kid, how you're gravitating to them because like, oh, this looks like my neighborhood, or things that I go through on TV. I think that's the even rap. I think rap caught people like that because you're hearing somebody becoming artistic and entertaining over music that sounds good. And you're like, oh, they're talking about something, or I can feel this. I can relate to this in some capacity. And but for me, and I don't want to get too. I didn't want to steal Corey's moment, but
no, you're good, man.
I was just gonna ask you,
Yep.
do you think Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, gangster rap called NWA, like, do you think that was the first time in America that the spotlight got shined on what the fuck's really going? Like John Singleton, I know, who directed that
John
movie.
Singleton, yep.
Yeah, like, do you think that was our first look in as a white guy from the suburbs?
100%.
Yeah.
So music caught everybody. Music caught everybody. You know, in your ears. You know, sonically, right? And you can hear it, and you just don't have a picture. You know what I'm saying? But I'm old enough, even, you know, 1991, we started seeing deep cover, and you start seeing these black prominent films of depicting the ghetto. You can those are the introductions. You know, when you think about Juice was more of an East Coast version of Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood was a West Coast version of inner city America. And so these were the first times in Minister Society, you know, these were the first times this stuff was plastered on TV. But then you have a lot of people in America like, this is what this shit looks like. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's why even people talk about, like, just think about some of the things you say, like, you know, you like rap because of the struggle. You like rap because of the come up. You know, I think people, when they talk about they dislike music, I think that they're talking about they miss that. You know what I'm saying? Like when you can, like anything, right? So, John, you're an artistic person, right? When you look at art or you have art going on, you say, man, I love it because it makes me feel something, right? And I think, like, music is like that. People like when shit makes you feel something. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you listen to Tupac, you're feeling something. If you listen to all this stuff, you're feeling it. And I think that, you know, that's how stuff impacts you. Like, even now, like it's funny. I don't even know what the feeling is. But as I talk about Boys in the Hood, there's a nostalgia, like, talking about it. And I can just remember, you know, just these parts of the movie that were impactful. I can remember I can remember going to, it was a church across the street from our elementary school. This isn't a great thing, but I can remember watching Minister Society. That probably came out in '93, I think. And I can remember me and my guy going in the back of the church and smoking a joint before he went to school. And this is like '93, man. I'm like fourth grade or something like that. But I can remember how, the
The
movie.
fact you were mixed up then in fourth grade's crazy.
Yeah, but
yeah.
this is impact. This was like when you
Yeah.
had $5 joints. They used to
course.
roll the joints in the tops rolling paper, and it wasn't like a big deal. Like the way stuff is looked at now. You could have went to the store and got cigarettes and beer for
Sure.
family members and stuff like that. It just wasn't the same deal. But just to remember how that stuff impacted you, and just like it impacted me in a negative way initially, but like this is what it's like to be cool. You didn't have a barometer, like there wasn't anybody like, yo, this is wrong for you. This was to gauge the level of coolness with Boys in the Hood, Minister Society. But the reason Boys in the Hood connected to me more was because as I got older, I realized how impactful and influential either the music or these movies were to destroying people. You know what I'm saying? Like you look at I don't want to get too far off.
Dude, I think O-Dog is like the best character ever too. Like, cause he was the man in that movie, and he was.
And just for reference, and
Yeah.
I want to act like they're ignorant. Just for
Yeah.
reference, we're talking about Minister Society. Yes,
Correct. But like, he was the man in that movie. Like, I remember, like, everyone wanted to be him who saw that movie, and he was the worst influence ever. He was the first guy to pull the trigger.
Yes.
He was the first guy to throw a punch. He was the first guy to get mixed up in shit because it was the bravado. It was because
Yes.
me. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? And yeah, I mean, even in the suburbs of Illinois, that was felt.
Yeah, but here we go. And so what you're saying doesn't matter if it's black, white, urban, suburban. It's just identifying with that character. You know what I'm saying? There's no difference than what's I used to love those. Remember those Jean-Claude Van Damme movies?
Yeah.
That's why
Kickboxer.
Kickboxer. Yeah, that's why you love the movies, because he everybody wants the guy who kicks everybody ass.
Yeah.
Why do you think boxing was so big in the '80s? Why do you think
Yeah.
Mike Tyson was so big?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be this mystical guy who's just tough, bar nothing. But these movies all the time didn't play through consequence. You know what I'm saying? And so when you're talking about, just to stay on topic, when you're talking about favorite movies and significance, I gotta say Boys in the Hood. And I'm a huge documentary fan, so I can't say one film is my favorite, just because I just love good filmmaking. But if I gotta say something that of one movie, I gotta say Boys in the Hood.
I think what was cool about Boys in the Hood was, especially because I saw like the white poverty problems, and that was my first like real look at, oh, okay, this is a whole nother animal from what I see in the country. And then when I went to Youngstown on the south side with the Onwall that one time and spent about a whole week and actually witnessed some of this stuff going on and hearing the gunshots at night and I was like, this shit is I mean, it's literally like, a killing zone out there. I mean, Maurice is not like stretching the truth at all. Like, it is wild as a motherfucker.
Come on down to Chicago.
Like, it's probably like mini Chicago, for real. Dudes are rolling. I mean, it was natural to be like at the park playing basketball, and his cousins are rolling up, and there's like guns on the dash, and it's like normal, basic, like, and I'm just like, I was in shock.
So we had this conversation. I know this conversation didn't start for here, but I remember having this conversation a couple of weeks ago, how crazy this stuff is normalized to people now. So just think about Chicago, and I think we said something about this a few podcasts ago, but just think about the residual effect of people think that killing people is normal now. You know what I'm saying? Just like,
Well, yeah, how many murders are in Chicago? It's outrageous.
But this is what I'm talking about. So now I'm 34. I'm seeing older guys who are older than me, their kids growing up, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing these kids, and so I can name 4 guys. These were kids. These were 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids. Mad Dog, Peeper. What is the other brother name? These are 4 brothers. These were the dudes who just they was hitman, right? And so they all just get locked up. Probably last year, all these little young guys got life sentences. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at these little young kids in Chicago, these young kids in Chicago have kids, or their uncles have kids and nephews and everything else like that.
Kids having kids.
But these kids grow up now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so what happens is these kids, their level for how I engage in problems becomes like, I gotta kill you. You know what I'm saying?
So crazy.
Yeah,
There's no fist fights anymore.
No, the fist fights are gone.
Yeah.
The fist fights are long gone, and so
Yeah.
it's not that effect. It's the residual effect of everybody thinking that this is how you handle problems. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I see in the Youngstown. Everybody believes in Youngstown, like whether I like it or not. Like this is how I solve a problem. You know what I'm saying? And so
So
crazy.
dangerous.
but when I talk about these movies, you can talk about that vacuum where it infected people in a negative capacity, but then you could talk about the progression of you have guys like there was a guy Sharif from Minister Society when he was the Muslim and he was the positive guy. He was always trying to tell guys like, yo, slow down. I identify more with the Sharif now. You know what I'm saying? I identify with I got a young guy who got out of prison. You know, young guy. You know, he had a tougher reputation. You know, prior to going to prison, and I'm getting calls from him. You know, he got out probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, but me trying to tell him like, yo, you don't want to take that step. You know what I'm saying?
You don't want to be that guy anymore.
No, you don't want to do that. You know, think of something else, do something else, and you trying to,
Be hard to switch that.
Yeah, but you know, you're trying to live the example. You know, my other guy after 18 years, he gets out in 2 days. You know what I'm saying? So you know, hey.
I couldn't imagine what the world's difference in 18 years like to get out. That would be tough.
But this is what these guys. Just think about this. All the stuff we're talking about, all the stuff they grew up in this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
That's all they know.
Yeah. So just try. But I'm just saying I identify more now with the more responsible guy. You know, with the guy trying to say, hey, let's not ruin our lives before we start them.
I got one for you. So I think I'll always identify with sports movies. I think my first one that I can remember was The Natural. I don't know if you remember that movie, Johnny, the baseball movie, the Lou Gehrig movie, which was about a story which is kind of like a biography. But I think at the ultimate sports movie is probably Rocky 1.
Rocky, yes.
So I think what I loved about Rocky 1 and how it changed, I think it changed everybody that watched it, was that
culture.
It changed culture. That's what's so cool about Sylvester Stallone, is that he transcended some crazy shit with those films. And so it's like that underdog, that work hard, he's undersized.
Grinder.
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly. I think that was I remember between Rocky and Karate Kid. Listen. All right,
Sweep
so
the leg.
this is now we're getting there.
Sweep the
Yeah, listen. It's
Johnny Lawrence.
It's underdog. It's
Cobra
work
Kai.
hard. And these are the things that I could identify with, that I was going to have to do to try to get to where I wanted to go. And so those movies, wax on, wax off, tricep with the rocks in Rocky 4, whatever, or Rocky 1 with, I think that it was one of those things where I would watch these and I would just go, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's how these guys keep winning. And to me, that was like feeding something that was already starting for me. But that I just knew, because no matter how hard I would try, I would still be the 6th guy on my basketball team. And so as soon as I watched those movies, I was like, well, to just be there in the conversation, you have to be these guys. You know what I mean?
I got to say, though, Karate Kid, for any young kid, karate, it sounds so distant now. Karate was big in 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because we found out that karate, for the most part, outside of footwork, is fake.
Unless you're Leota.
But Leota's been getting knocked the fuck out because he's trying to rely on.
But he
karate.
was champion once.
What?
With a karate background.
A sumo background too, and a jiu-jitsu background, and
True.
a Muay Thai background.
He is Brazilian.
Yeah.
Either way.
Hold on. So you said I just want to click. Karate's fake.
Okay, so
you're gonna make a lot of fans.
So
I don't know.
I'm talking about him, not you.
When I say karate's fake, here's what I mean. So a lot of people who have been practicing, that martial art for hundreds of years, they have these grand masters, right?
Okay.
And for example, the UFC will always be like, come on in and if you are the ultimate, come on in. And a few dudes have come on in who have just a karate base, and they get ankle picked and just pound it out, and it's over, because karate is you're striking with an open hand. Well, dude, a punch works. So the way we talk about it is martial arts has evolved more in the past 15 years because we have found out what works through actually fighting than it has in the past 1,000 years.
Gotcha.
Because it was just katas and, if you're going to do karate, you're going to fight against the karate guy. Bruce Lee was actually the godfather of going out and, he created Jeet Kune Do. Jeet Kune Do was like karate, but he wrote, like, I have to be able to defend myself on the ground. What if someone gets me on the ground? So, like, he was the first to understand and go fight people just to find out if his shit worked, that you have to be able to fight everywhere. So karate is fake in that it doesn't work when you're fighting a skilled fighter, because
Gotcha.
you're not going to slap them with an open hand. You know what I'm saying? They're going to kick you in the ribs.
The
and
forms
hit you
that
with a
they have you
flying knee.
practice a little
It's like,
hokey, for
yeah,
sure.
like the footwork. Stephen Thompson, Wonder Boy can wax off if you're throwing a jab,
off.
but it just doesn't work in a real fight.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
The
Yes.
story of it, though, with the work ethic, with Rocky, that combination of those two movies, I think, are what kind of molded me as I was trying to find a way of where I was heading in my life. So I think that and I've watched them a bazillion times, both of them, I think. And a fun fact, after Karate Kid got kicked by Johnny or whatever, and Johnny jumped up from his back. Do you remember that, John, in the movie?
Yeah, like the frog jump.
I think I frog jumped in my front room 1,500 times
Dude,
before I made it.
How about Sensei John Kreese?
Yeah, of course, sweep the leg.
You know what I'm saying?
But I can still frog jump
Finish
off my
him.
back to this day
Yeah.
because of all the practice I did during Karate Kid when I was probably 9 years old.
Hey, well, everybody's
10 years
listening. I don't care what you say. The 80s had the best movies. 80s
well,
and 90s.
Yeah, like,
you're like
when
40,
it came to
that's what you
action,
think.
for sure. But there's one other movie that I think probably I don't know if the younger generation's seen. I hope to have, but it really made me realize how the best man wins. But by saying the best man wins, what I mean is the guy who is thinking and not letting other people know what they're thinking always wins, and that's Shawshank Redemption. That is a legendary movie on every. Andy Dufresne, if you guys haven't seen it, is this dude who just goes about his business. And first off, you have to see this movie if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, you know what I talk about. But he just takes his time. He measures everything, and every decision he makes is strategic based on his goal. And his goal, nobody knew. Even the people he trusted didn't know, but it had to be that way for him to achieve it. And watching the process of how he got there is something that's very real.
Phenomenal movie.
One of the best, and one of the best endings. One of the most satisfying endings I've ever witnessed in a movie. That scene on the beach when they're
Yes. Well, I tell you like this. So I don't have like, as you talk about these underdog movies. I've always seen Rocky. I've seen other inspirational stuff. I think about. I don't know if that was a technical movie. Remember Jordan, Come Fly With Me?
I don't think I watched that.
Yeah.
You've seen that? Yeah. Jordan had like I don't know if you call it a documentary or something like that.
Yeah.
Had a little film.
Yeah.
Come Fly With Me, but I can't remember too many films like that. I guess when I was younger, I was watching more comedy or real
Go documentary on it, Reese.
Huh?
Go documentary. I mean, people are going to go and source these things.
Documentary. Where
That's
do I
made
start?
a super impact.
Dude, what about? I mean, honestly, what's your take on the recent one? I thought that 13 movie, at least for someone in my position, explained something that is so hard to explain.
Yes.
So amazingly.
Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah. So
I don't watch a lot of movies except for like some documentaries I need.
Yeah, so the documentary it's super powerful. It gave a hardcore look at basically disproportionate sentencing, how the 13th Amendment basically allows you, like, so in a nutshell, excuse me, in a nutshell, basically what happened was after slavery ended, they basically said, hey, all you all get the fuck out of here, go do what you want to do, like you're free, in a nutshell. And so if we've been living in this system where white people have been controlling black people for all these years, where the fuck these black people gonna go?
Mm-hmm.
So the black people went out to commit crimes to get arrested again on purpose. But the 13th Amendment allowed them to basically treat you as a slave if you were a ward of the state.
Okay.
So what they're saying is, over time, this system that has been created, this 13th Amendment that has been created, has allowed people to either make laws or create this caste system that basically, once you got arrested, you became commoditized as an individual. So one out of every 3 black men over the age of 18 will enter the criminal justice system. And once they're in that system, basically they just talked about the cycles with just what I'm going through right now with housing, with employment, with how society looks at you, with disproportionate sentencing for miscellaneous crimes, just the overcrowdedness in jail, due processes when it's time to go to court, so on and so forth.
So
And
much more difficult.
Fucking plea deals.
Plea
because you don't
deals.
have money.
yeah, because you don't have money, you're overcharged, and so it raised a light, and I wish you can watch it because I don't begin to halfway intelligently explain what's going on. And they just talk about the influx. Like they talk a lot about how Bill Clinton, when Bill Clinton and they went through the whole fucking the sentencing reform. How he ran on, let's be tough on crime, 3 strikes.
Super predators.
Super predators from Hillary Clinton. And then we're about to lock up everybody who's out here dealing crack, right? So all the black guys who cook up the crack and sell it in the neighborhoods, they get these mandatory minimum sentences. And so you get caught with a couple ounces of crack, you're gone for 15, 20, 30 years. You're a young guy, you get white, you're caught with powder cocaine, you get 4 or 5 months probation, then you're on with your life. And so they just talked about how that's stacked up over the years. And so Corey, I get caught, I go to jail for 15 years. I come back after 15 years. What the fuck am I going to do on? Over the past 15 years, you've been building up your life. You've got in trouble. You've put it behind you. And
It's
the
the
next
same
thing
substance, too.
it's the same substance.
It is the same
But
substance.
I just cooked mine. You didn't cook yours, and then it's become this deal. But then,
and it's compounded over all these
Oh.
years.
but you're talking about thousands of men
Yeah.
across America. You know what I'm saying?
Families.
And it's really deep.
It's on Netflix.
Also Netflix, but
Yeah,
then you
check
talk
it
about
out.
how it breaks up communities. You're talking about how kids are raised without fathers, and how these kids become in broken households, broken homes. Now it's it's the cycle, and we can spend a whole podcast talking about that. But some of the stuff that you see now, so here this is what it does for you. It gives you a better perspective. Like, this guy just isn't a fucking loser.
Yeah,
You know
of
what I'm
course.
saying? And it's no different than how people understand addiction now. That's the only thing I could think about it, because before people would say, okay, this guy's just doing drugs because he wants to. Now it's like, no, the motherfucker physiologically is addicted to the shit based upon what's been taking place. And so this was going on. So when you look at people within their condition, you're just starting to realize. And so just even with me, with the situation I'm in, like, even me, 34 years old, if I didn't have the money I had to go purchase a home, I would be homeless, literally looking for a home, or put right back into the ghetto of America for housing, just based upon me being a convicted felon.
Because it limits what you're able to.
It limits that. It limits your opportunity. It limits your business. And it's supposed to say that, once you go out here and serve your sentence for your crime, you should be able to come back to life and be cleared and cleaned of it and go on and move forward with your life. But that's not the actual system. And so there's a lady named Michelle Alexander who wrote a book called The New Jim Crow, and they say, hey, instead of taking that system away, they just put another social caste system on you, right? So they put you on community control. They put you they label you a convicted felon. They take away your rights to vote, and so you're not formally in prison, but in society
You're in prison.
you have no voice.
you have no voice in society based upon what you can do. And so that's what makes it tough. And so that's what makes it tough when you're giving these guys advice. And so you run into a guy, and these are legit stories. You run into a guy, and John has 4 kids. John has 4 kids. He lives in the hood, and you understand, even as a man, he has no money. Just think about this. He has no money, right? John has no money. He has 4 kids. He's fresh out of jail, and he's living smack dab in the hood. He's got in trouble with his whole life. Like, the fucking likelihood, unless somebody gives him a shot, you know what I'm saying? Unless somebody gives my man a shot, it's a wrap. He's going back to the same life. And so, you trying to save
that life is faster results,
yeah,
too.
just think about this. Think about you saving one of your childhood friends, like, yo, let's come and do something different. You know what I'm saying? But the stuff that I'm doing is so much different than what they have a skill set for. It doesn't even connect. You know what I'm saying? You're just trying to be like a
That's
positive
interesting.
voice.
I want to watch that. That's good.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it,
deep.
I think it won best documentary of the year. I think.
Yeah, it's fucking deep, and I just
Especially for a white dude, right? Because I'm sure you have indirectly or felt these things or know these things or seen. But for someone who's not African American, it's like holy shit! Like this is stuff I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't know it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But,
Yeah.
but you like just, but that's it. Like, so stuff like that is what gives perspective, right? It gives more people
Totally.
perspective, and right, and you like, even myself, like even traveling, even traveling, and I've sat on probably 4 or 5. Think about this. They showed that documentary to Columbus School for Girls, right? So this is the most probably one of the most prestigious private all-girls schools, right? And they held this forum, and now this movie can't be any realer. I don't know.
Right.
I'm talking about hardcore real.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
we're talking about like everything is hardcore real about the film, but to show it in that demographic, and then to have people like even little girls in our school is their parents, like so. My daughter's friends now know, like, oh, Jaden's father was in prison, and just to have context for them, like,
Right,
oh, like this is like, oh,
This is the things he's gonna have to go through.
yeah, this is a real deal, and so, but even talking to some of the parents after that, and just to seeing how so naive they were. There's like, yo, we didn't know this go on. We didn't know that what disproportionate sentence it was. We didn't know that bail is set outrageously high. We didn't realize that it's the same substance. Cocaine is the same substance, and Johns gets 7 years, and you get
They're totally
6-month
clueless.
probation. They had no clue, but then then now I see why John starts off with a disadvantage. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not making an excuse for him, but I have an understanding for him. I can empathize with what John is going
The
through.
empathy, that's what I was going to say.
I mean,
So the parents that understand that and their kids understand it, it's like, wait a second, I get it now a little bit more.
But don't listen to me, right? So I mean, and this isn't me making any excuses, but this is probably why more than anything, I get the drug and alcohol stuff that we do, but more than anything, I understand how community and people crash and burn now, right? So when you talk about the felon school systems, right? So we traditionally work with adolescents and adults with mental health and drug and alcohol issues, right? And so when you're working with the psychosocial and emotional supportive courses, and you're working with these kids in school, you're like, fuck, my man. You like, so when you do an assessment on a kid or an assessment on a family, I'm basically seeing how like the fucked up condition this kid comes from. You know what I'm saying? And so when you start to look at that shit, you be like, man, you're coming from a fucked up life. You're in a fucked up school system.
No shot, dude.
And you have no resources. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
I sometimes when I'm out in public and I'm just seeing how things are operating, I look at a kid and I think, man, you got 9 disadvantages.
Dude, you behind 9 8 balls. You know what I'm saying?
But
I think that all the time. Unless somebody impacts or wakes up or reads something or does something, it's like if you're in that environment constantly, it's so hard to fight against it. It's almost impossible.
Yeah, and I think one important thing, at least the way I perceived it, was, there's all this crime, let's say in urban areas, and the police look bad if they don't get their guy, right? So what seems to happen, at least according to this, is that they grab an 18, 21-year-old African American and say, "You did it." And they're like, what the fuck? I was with my friend at the arcade. They're like, no, you did it. Admit it now, and it'll be easier. And all of a sudden, they're holding them. They're detaining them. And then they pound them. They ground them down for 12 hours, 24 hours. And they're like, you could take a plea deal and only do 3 years. Or you could try to fight it, and we're going to give you 15. So just take and they're like, dude, I was at the fucking arcade. But then over 15 hours, 16 hours, they're like, I'm fucked. And it's the difference of like having $800 and getting a lawyer, right? Yeah. Which they don't have, and the cops know it. And I don't want to paint cops to be bad people. I'm just saying this happens. This is how it's going down, and this is how they keep them in,
so
and they're powerless.
You could talk, but then just think about this. I'll say this. I didn't want to turn the conversation this way, but the the poor person's story, be it if you're white or black, right? So don't get this construed. White and black people are in the same boat at this point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're poor and white, if you're poor and black, if you're poor and
Still
Hispanic,
fucking poor.
no, you're commoditized.
Yeah.
Right? And what I mean by that is that as long as your ass keep on getting in trouble, you birth an entire judicial system. Meaning you keep the judge with people on the docket, you keep bailiffs inside the courts, you keep fines inside the court system, you keep police
Keep
officers.
the money flowing.
I'm explaining to you how many industries it births, right?
Yeah.
You get more federal dollars and state dollars for police forces and task force and things like that. You get more correctional officers. You get more county jail sheriffs. You get county jails people. You get community control, right? So this is APA, state probation, county probation, and you fill up the prisons. So you're in prison, and some prisons are privatized, right?
That's a
so
new thing.
you've birthed.
For-profit prison.
Think about this. You have literally have birthed all of these industries, right?
Yes.
And so they predict how many prison beds they will need based upon the third grade reading level. So if you hit the third grade and your kids are not reading on a third grade reading level, there's a 78% chance that he or she will go to prison. Period. So think about this. This isn't Maurice Claret's facts. These are just this is information I've either got from 13th. Jim Trussell actually told me the statistics about the third grade reading level and how they basically estimate prison beds. But these are like actual facts of stuff that actually goes on. And so back to my point. So like when you see these kids and you understand what they're going through, you understand what they're challenging, you understand all the trauma that they're going against, you're like, yo, you have a rough uphill battle. And so we can't influence everybody, but those who we can influence. Let's try to make a thing out of it, right? So, it was even more to the reason I even hired a lady to do all of our journalism for us, right? So I said, I want you to journal these kids' stories, and over time, just talk about how we've impacted their lives in some capacity, whether giving a positive outlet, giving positive mentorship, giving positive counseling. And if nothing else, if John don't have nothing else going on in his life that's constructive, at least when he runs into our people help him to, reach his goals and objectives to get out of his current situation. And so, that, but it's like the cool thing about that's the stuff that keeps you connected to life, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It keeps me connected to life.
Watch the documentary 13.
I'm telling you, go watch it. It's very impactful to even to the listener. Even to the listener, even if you have it, you don't have to have a black dude from the hood, but you may have somebody who just may be going through the judicial system. You don't have to be a black guy from the inner city to actually go through this, but if you know somebody inside of the judicial system and understanding the leaps and hurdles and all of the things once they're released that may be inside of their path, or maybe a barrier to them basically reaching success. And you maybe say, hey, why did this guy keep on bumping his head or knocking his head around? And it may not be just him just wanting to bump his head. It's the fact that he may have situations in front of him that he just obstacles. That's the word I was looking for. John has obstacles that he can't navigate, or he might have the skill set.
Yeah.
And he just may need some assistance.
Or the amount of discipline you're gonna have to display. I mean, to be able to get through all of this stuff is why you've been able to get through it, Mo.
Yeah, and so we help people. We help people with reentry. So one of the things we try to do is try to provide like your staple things like your transportation, your housing, your insurance, your food, and a positive place to basically get you to go socialize with others. And so you have a case manager who helps you to do that upon your release, and you check in weekly and are constantly motivating you, encouraging you, and trying to find resources that you probably couldn't find yourself. And so those are just a few things that we do, but nonetheless, it's still hard. It gets to the point where you have to have an extreme amount of self-discipline like once you're out here, but that all comes down to the choice of the person, but at least you try to give them the conditions or the circumstances to make those right choices.
Documentary, another one.
The Fog of War. Man,
I haven't seen any of these.
Yeah, the Fog of War. I want to say it was the Secretary of State under maybe Nixon. I forget the gentleman's name, but basically it's about when the United States goes to war, and he references, everything from Vietnam to present day situations up, I think came out about 10 years ago, going into Iraq and Operation Iraqi Freedom, all that stuff. The fog that the American citizens receive, that we just cannot see through, that we're told a narrative, and then the fog drops. So what's actually going on out there, we ain't never going to know about. They ain't never going to tell us about, because the fog's in front of us. And when you remove the fog, you're like, holy shit. You know what I'm saying? Because it had nothing to do with what we were told. And beyond that, war is an ugly thing. War is the ugliest thing on the planet ever. And the United States is the greatest country in the world, but we are not infallible. So when we go up and when we go blow up people and hit people with drones, I always say it like this, and a lot of people can hate on this, and Obama was the one who did it most, so don't come at me with that angle. But when we go and hit someone in Afghanistan with an unmanned drone, the acceptable casualty level is 70 dead collateral damage. So if you're going to go and try to hit a terrorist, we accept 70 others being
Just
killed.
regular
Oh, I
people.
didn't know that.
Yeah. And we're dropping about 30 of those a day. 30 of those a day, unmanned drones, trying to take people.
Oh, I didn't know
Oh,
that.
hell yeah. So when you think about that, that's 70 mothers, wives, fathers, sons. So you wonder why terrorism continues. Terrorism it's an ethos. It's a mindset. And I will tell you this: if you bomb my mother, I don't care who you are, I'm coming after you. It's that simple.
We create a lot of somebody's
didn't
uncles,
know that.
aunts, kids that grow up and go, fuck those motherfuckers.
And so this isn't a Republican
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
Obama was the most vicious, more than George Bush. I mean, he got a lot of terrorists.
He did.
He got a lot of them. But what they don't talk about is
How many we created on top of it.
and how many children were killed.
Yeah.
How so I think when we look at this problem of terrorism, it's so hard to solve because we're trying
So
to
hold on, slow down. Let me ask you a question. So, with the documentary, are you saying that, and I may be hearing this wrong,
Okay.
that there's a narrative that's put to all the media outlets,
Right.
and that's the narrative that's pushed.
Right, like they got nukes, right? When we went into Iraq.
Okay.
They got nukes. That's what we were told. That's why we're going into Iraq.
Okay.
Right. Well, the truth is that George Bush Sr., the one thing that ate at him is that he never got Saddam. They had this beef. Well, George Bush Jr. was in office, and we got attacked.
Desert Storm.
Yeah, we got attacked on 9/11. So he's sitting there saying they know who it was. They knew it was Bin Laden, but you can't attack a dude hanging out in a cave with a fucking military like ours. You got to go fuck some shit up. So they created the fog. The fog was Saddam has nukes. We're going into Iraq because we have intel, which Colin Powell later admitted he knew was a fucking lie, but he got pressed by the administration to say it.
I always liked that dude.
Oh, I have a lot of respect for him.
I think Colin Powell could have been president.
But he doesn't have respect for what he
Yeah.
did because everyone trusted him.
Sure.
And he said we have
He's like
intelligence.
the only
that-
general I know.
Right, that they have nukes.
Me too.
Right?
So
Petraeus too, my fault.
Yeah.
we went into Iraq because we thought they had nukes. We weren't going into Iraq because they had nukes. We were going into Iraq because the American people were fucking mad and we needed to punch someone in the face.
Yeah.
And if we went into Iraq, we could settle
Oh.
daddy's little issue, right? We can get their fucking oil, and
I
the
thought
American
oil.
people could be like, fuck yeah, America, we're getting Iraq.
So
Iraq never killed an American citizen.
So you saying Corey punched me in my face, and I'm saying like, John, let's get a fight.
Exactly.
So, but basically, Bin Laden hit him in his face, and he's like, "Oh, let me go
Let me go fuck with Saddam."
Yeah.
Who is a motherfucker, don't get me wrong.
No. But he never killed an American citizen. Was he a bad man? Absolutely. He killed 600,000 Kurds. He gassed them. He never killed an American. And Saddam Hussein, people need to understand these things are facts. He was a lavish king who sat on a throne.
Yes.
Bin Laden, was a different form of Muslim. He hated Saddam Hussein. They had no correlation.
I didn't know that.
Because Saddam's sitting on the throne with women and this and that, and Bin Laden is like, that is the wrong kind of Muslim. We hang out in caves. This is Sharia. This is what's the fucking word when they fight to go to heaven? This is, I forget the word, but it's a word that all those Islamic fighters do. They want to die because it's I forget the word. You go to heaven if you die fighting the Americans.
Is that the one where you go to heaven and have 100 virgins?
Yeah, for like 42 virgins or whatever. But those two.
I never heard of this shit, man.
You see how fast his neck snapped?
I never heard this.
I'm not laughing.
But I'm
not
just
funny.
saying those two guys were diametrically opposed, so there was no connection. Saddam never worked with Bin Laden, but we were told that there might be a connection between these two.
We try to connect two bad
that
dudes.
that was the push.
diversion.
That was the fall.
That was the fog.
So I had a couple acquaintances that were in Iraq, and I think Saddam had like 9 of those palaces.
Of course.
And they ran up in one of them, and it was, he said, this dude was living like it looks like a Vegas hotel.
Yeah, exactly. Like Caesar's
Bellagio,
Palace.
like every one of them, and he had millions in American cash, so much gold. They said it was like absurd. Like
I don't know he's living like that.
unbelievable. Well, because all that oil money, he was just putting in his pocket.
Well, yeah, so why did we go there? We went there to get even for George Bush Sr., get the oil, and trick. See, this is what pisses me off. We're going to trick the American citizens to make them feel good. Hey, terrorism ain't going away. It's still hanging out in Afghanistan. That's why we eventually kind of went into Afghanistan, right? But that was after we fucked up Iraq, killed over 1 million Iraqis, and lost countless American lives. I lost a friend I went to high school with. I have another one who has brutal PTSD. It's like you go and the cost of these things is so severe, and I just think it's important to understand what's really going on. Now, you make up your opinion on whether it's worth it or not, but we went in under false pretenses and we doubled down, which, hey, come to your own conclusion.
So it's called, again, John,
The fog of war.
The fog of war. I think one that was massively important. Well, pumping iron was hugely important for the culture of bodybuilding, and that transcended an entire industry. I don't know when I watched pumping iron that I got motivated to go lift weights, but I don't know it did much outside of that. But I think the documentary that our friend Chris Bell did, which was Bigger, Faster, Stronger, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, I always forget what it's called. It talked about the steroid use and how basically we were all naive to it. And what I thought, I don't know if you've seen it before, Mo.
No, I've never seen it.
Yeah, you got to see it. But it's
on Netflix.
It's on Netflix also. And for you guys that haven't seen it, what it is he says, I looked up to Hulk Hogan, I looked up to Rambo, I looked up to Arnold, I looked up, and why don't I look like this? I'm doing what they said. I'm taking my vitamins. I'm doing this, and I don't look like this. And basically started making the correlation between
the common denominator.
The common denominator was like, wait a second, they're not telling me something.
Right.
And I think that was the first documentary, and this is where West Side Barbell got real subculture popular because Louis in the movie. And he talks about, because he don't make no qualms about it. He's like, I've been using steroids for 35 years. That's like one of his classic lines. He's like, the Soviets were doing it, so I started doing it. Like, so part of the reason how Louis got even more subculture famous is because he basically
accepted it.
He's always been that way.
Gotcha.
So that's the key, is what Chris was talking about in showcasing, is that gray area lie. Is that guys out here that say, yes, I do it, this is why, but there's a lot of this stuff going on that our culture doesn't realize that's how they got there. And so it's like it's a frustrating thing once you understand that. And I remember thinking, like, wait a second, why don't I look like Ronnie Coleman? I'm not recovering, I can't do these workouts. the
I'm
diet plans.
90 pounds lighter.
90 pounds light. You know what I'm saying? You start to think like, wait a second here, I'm missing something, right? And so they did a really good job of showcasing, like, hey, this is how it really is, and I already knew all of that.
I mean, did I mean, because I'm not in the bodybuilding world. Did it piss some people off?
Oh, most definitely, because there's a lot of people that make a lot of money on you being naive.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you
Not
this.
you, but metaphorically you.
Me, I'll tell you this. I think probably like 90% of so I work my ass off in the gym, right? And I have for many years.
Yeah.
And no matter how hard I work my ass off, I used to be like, man, this motherfucker looks like a fucking machine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you look at these dudes and you be like, man, you don't work as hard as me. You don't lift as much weight as me. And I know that there just must be some gray area. But on the football field, it's a little bit easier to see because one thing that you can look the part, but performance is still performance. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
if you like, I can take all the steroids I want. But
I know he's from the area, but like Michael Pittman's arms.
Michael Pittman.
Man, you ever see that motherfucker? His fucking.
I mean, his arms.
Not
Michael Pittman.
No,
Michael
he played for Arizona Cardinals for a while.
Yeah, Tampa Bay. I think.
Tampa Bay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Boston.
David Boston.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
God! Oh my God!
Hey, he came
Look,
back
so-
in camp, right? It's to San Diego.
Biggest. I was like, who is this guy?
Weighed 279 as a wide.
So, dude. So first of all, the dude name was Charles Poliquin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I went to go work out with Charles Poliquin, and in the first place Charles Poliquin would take you is to the fucking vitamin room, and you start to look at the vitamin room, you be like, yo, my man, like, yeah, I ain't here for all this shit.
Yeah, he's-
like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, dude.
It was
like,
all anabolics.
Oh yeah, he's
no,
known
so
for that.
so he so so I won't lie on the man. I'll never lie on anybody. He didn't. Let me state this correctly. It was a culture understood that if you wanted to ask for something, you could get something.
And that he
but-
knew exactly what to do with it.
So if I walked in here and it was all type of vitamin A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, like once I see all these vitamins I don't know nothing the fuck about, I know this is all about other shit. You know what I'm saying? And when you see David Boston, when you see Dorian Yates, when you see all these,
Dorian Yates, yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Hold on. Jeremy, go ahead.
When you see all these
He got it. It's still recording.
oh, I didn't know it was recording. Yeah, so when you see all these motherfuckers with arms everywhere, big motherfuckers, you see these hockey players coming in, these motherfuckers are big and you know you know what I'm talking about.
You know there's a back room.
Yeah, there's a back room, and so the only thing I've ever done over there, this is the first time I ever had an IV in my arm. You know, where you get vitamins, and there was a nurse in there, she gives you the vitamins and all that other shit. But you know, this is not why these other dudes ain't coming here for the banana bag. You know what I'm saying? These other motherfuckers coming from these motherfuckers coming for the shot in the ass and all that other shit.
But I think
So-
having a documentary that went wide stream that said, I mean, it was all over the place. Netflix, almost everyone in the lifting community seen it. It's like, I think that was cool because then it started to shed a light on like, yo, you know, there's a lot going on out here that
But
people are naive to.
You know what I think we could segue minor into is like, okay, so you're a movie star, you're Arnold, you're these guys. I don't.
Or like The Rock. I would want to.
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't-
like to know if The Rock takes steroids.
Of course he does. Of course, look at the man.
fuck yeah, he takes
I mean,
steroids.
come on, his skin's getting tighter. I mean, he's on all kinds of growth too.
And what would that do to his career if tomorrow everybody knew that?
Probably nothing.
Nothing.
No?
Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa. People want home runs.
Yeah, but no one likes them anymore.
What? But that's subjective. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if they were hitting the ball for 70 home runs a year,
I think it
wouldn't
really
care.
messed Sammy up. Did you see his latest picture of that guy?
Oh yeah, but he
ahead.
dyed his kid. He had too much money.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, okay, so for the supplement industry, that's where I draw the line, because you're selling a product with marketing materials that are full of these people, Dorian Yates like people, and you're saying this form of pre-workout, and you're implying that it will turn you into that. That's where
That's the
the
problem.
onion needs to be peeled back on this industry, and this industry is built on a lie. And I think I know we're going to be talking about it more because it is the elephant in the room that's been in the room
constantly
for fucking 25 years or however long this industry has existed, and motherfuckers need to be called out because, like I said, when you're fucking with kids who play high school football, college, you're setting them up for failure. When someone feels lesser than the guy in the gym who's like, hey, man, I got something for you, then you're going to listen a little bit more because that protein ain't working. That showed you that dude who was 260 at 5% body fat. It ain't working, right?
It's sad.
Like,
I get what you're saying. For me, I just always thought it was in football, especially. I just thought it was like just a bitch move. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I don't think people would care about The Rock because The Rock's not in a performance deal.
Right.
He's an actor. So if you're an actor, dude, and you're doing this to look better for
you're
whatever,
not performing against anyone
no,
else.
you're not in an open competition. Like him taking steroids is not going to help him act better. You know what I'm saying? Or he's not about to beat out somebody for a role because he took steroids and he, became something. He's already The Rock. You know what I'm saying? He may be taking some growth and he may want to just stay lean because he's traveling and doing all type of other shit, right? When we're talking about football, though, like, dude, you just didn't want to hit the fucking weights. You know what I'm saying? You didn't want to do hang cleans. You didn't want to work your ass off. You didn't want to go do the conditioning. You didn't want to work through your injuries. You don't want to do that. I even had dudes just come up and say to me like, man, I make too much money doing what I'm doing, so I don't give a fuck about taking them. But to me, that's
how do you feel about that?
Is that
though?
I mentioned that to John one time, but that's like a business decision.
No, I mean, but here we go. I feel like one. So here we go. One, I understand how they can come and say that. I get that. But for me to never take steroids, and that's not my thing, I just don't respect it. You know what I'm saying? And so
they don't care though.
My dude,
like
my dude was making $8 million a year. So he's saying like, fuck, like if all I got to do is take this to make $8 million, I'm not going anywhere else to make $8 million a year. You know what I'm saying? And so, I as much as I get it, I just don't respect it, me personally.
But if you were in that situation where you're like, hey, the dude I'm competing with, everyone's on it. I'm about to make $8 million. I just gotta stay healthy. I gotta take this growth. I gotta get on some. I always stay out of hypothetical conversations because I can't say I would say yes or no. I just don't know. So I respectfully, and I'm not saying that to deflect from the question. I would say yes. It's motherfucker.
So
I think some of the guys coming from certain neighborhoods or even
he was from the hood.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like you start to look at, okay, well, here's how I grew up watching people make money.
All I got to do is take some steroids and I make it.
To me, it's probably an easy decision.
He said. Oh, when he
said it was an easy decision.
Motherfucker, it wasn't like you wasn't talking him off this bridge. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I can't.
Because it was obviously working.
Right. You can't answer. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, but like this for me, for a person like. I don't know. I think we grew up in this space where we just think like integrity in sports should matter. I think
it should though.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And I put like this. I think we just sold that integrity matters. I think it feels good to be like, all like you want to believe like even though you love these home runs, you want to believe that these guys are clean smacking these home runs. But in the back of your mind, like I really don't want to talk about it because, like fuck, I know these dudes ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like it just like if I say, why do dudes in football take Adderall? They take Adderall because it's a performance-enhancing drug.
Yeah.
Why do football players take growth? They do it to repair their body. Man, dude,
they take EPO in the NFL.
What's EPO?
EPO is basically what Lance Armstrong took. It basically multiplies your red blood cells by about 10 times, and you do not get tired. A lot of fighters take EPO because you don't gas. It gives you like unlimited cardio.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Put like this: football players take growth, and football players take Adderall. Those are their two. And football players could take so. The internet has opened the world up, and these dudes got fucking millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of guys who just don't give a fuck. Like I can just remember where pills and needles, or just like just think like 90s. Like football players. You like I'm cool. But like this, we were playing in the fucking UFL. Motherfuckers are taking growth hormone in the UFL. So if you're taking UFL growth hormone and you fucking making 50, 60 grand a year, like You feel where I'm coming from? You going
Yeah.
into the NFL, your ass is like, your ass is taking
Well,
a shot.
In the industry we're talking about, there's guys that take all kinds of steroids and never make one dime with it.
Exactly.
And so people ask me like, dude, why wouldn't you just go on some because you can make more money? It was the same kind of thing, and it just was never my jam because mine always came back to my kids. I wanted to be able to tell Alex when he got older. I didn't want to have to say, Daddy did this all, but I did that too. You know what I mean? Like I think that's really what it came down to me is I didn't want to have to say that because that's
You
not the
didn't cheat.
truth. I didn't want to cheat. That was
I don't
my
look at it
perception.
as cheating. I'm gonna put it out there. I think when you lie about it, you're wrong.
Yeah,
You're
but
wrong.
Here we go.
Yeah, I believe. I agree with
Here we
that.
go. I think that's my problem with it.
Yeah,
I-
that's
I-
everybody's
so
problem because
I
that's
thi- I
the
think-
elephant in the room you're talking about.
Because you know what, I didn't have even when you said Louis was like motherfucker. So what? It's no difference.
But you respect it because it's just out there.
Let me see,
That's why I always show love to West Side because I've learned so much from West Side. I don't agree with the drug use, but he's not saying, "Hey, we squat 1,200 pounds." But he's not like whispering.
This
in
is
the
what it
back
is.
room. Everybody knows what
Dude,
it is.
I'm
Right.
telling you,
If Mark McGuire said, "I take this
It's
much
liberty.
testosterone and I
It's your
hit 70 home
choice.
runs," that's it. Yeah.
I think because there's integrity in saying this is what I do, this is how I got here, respected or not respected. Once you know all the facts,
Yeah.
and I only think about that. I have a close relationship. Like, so we have women who work for us who are lesbians. I love them more just because they be like, yo, this is who I am. This is what I am.
Exactly.
No faking, no fronting, no hiding, no sneaking. And you like, oh, these my girls. You know what I'm saying? And that helps you to like love them even more because I'm not hiding shit. You know what I'm saying? And so it is. At the end of the day, it is what it is. To each his own. But I think you just helped me discover that. I think I have more of a problem to people who are ashamed of.
So in the NFL, though,
Hiding.
Mo, if you're going against somebody, he's not going to say, "I'm beating Maurice because I'm taking drugs." I mean, that's the thing is they would have to be under the it'd be undercover.
But
So in
I
sports,
I don't blame that guy because I got to be able to identify and put myself in that guy's shoes, and the odds are he doesn't have another career path where he can make the money, and those drugs could be the difference from practice squad not making the team and getting a second contract. So I'm not going to
That's
judge.
true.
I'm not going to judge him if he needs that to stop you. I'm not going to judge
Man,
him.
but it's for all guys for real. It's all guys, and the money's so large. So I don't want to make it seem like it's just a select group of guys. This is all guys. You know what I'm saying? Like just league minimum was like 450, 475. It ain't a lot of dudes. Even your top tier players are not just walking away from football and going to make 450 elsewhere.
hell no.
You know what I'm saying? Like like you feel where I'm coming from?
Of course.
There's
You know how hard it is to make money like that. These guys got to grab a whole nother skill set.
dude.
Yeah.
And do you know how much harder it is when you've been playing football 0 to 35 and then it's over? Do you know how much harder it is to make that money? It's
Dude.
like
Yeah.
you got to start. You need 20 years of practice like you needed for football.
Dude, if you're not shitting out a bunch of franchises of something
Right.
to get back there,
Right.
put like this, and there's a difference between
That
going
cash
to.
flow, those game checks is a whole nother level.
Oh,
boy.
it's a difference between making 450 and got cash flow of 450 year in and year out.
Yeah, of
And
course.
so football feels like you're just cash flowing, just come easy money, easy go.
Because the next week the check's coming and it's still 50 grand or whatever those crazy salaries are, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 grand
Man,
a week.
dude,
Some of the big money.
I'm gonna tell. I learned the difference. I mean, not learned the difference, but it's just funny. And this has nothing to do with nothing. But like I remember when I spoke for a couple years, I made a bunch of money speaking, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, this is cool, but it feels a lot like NFL checks. Like once the speaking was gone, boom, it's
gone.
done. See you later. Time to start over. Time to pick your deal back up. So you can't base your life off of these speaking checks because you can't force people to
You
come.
kind of knew that though early because I remember having a
Fuck
conversation
yeah,
like, man, I
fuck.
got this 24-month window. And then-
Dude,
or-
you can grab the money while it's there. You can speak your ass off. You can hold on to it, but you better be taking that money and investing in something else, or it's a wrap. You shot. But it's a lot of football players like that. So to get back to the main point, and we come to talk about these guys using steroids. A lot of these guys, just trying to hold on to this moment because, you're just not you're
You're
fucking
saying
not
you
making
can't fault them for that, Johnny.
It's a business decision. Where I fault them is if a kid were to come to them, or if someone were to come to them and say, "Hey, man, like I'm a college football player, I'm a high school football player, like do you guys actually use this shit?" And be like, "Nope, no way, we don't." Then I fault when you're selling a fake bill of goods. I will always fault you. Like, we all have faults, or we all have done some things. Admit it. And then you want to take them, take them. Now, if you're afraid about a fine, well, admit it behind closed doors. I think it's different between athletics and our industry.
Sure.
I have a deep-seated amount of anger at our industry for setting up youth for failure, but that's separate from athletics, because athletics is, I understand if you were to verbally say it, you're going to get suspended, but tell the truth behind closed doors. To always tell the truth. And then you're a man, you're a woman, you can make your own decisions, you're an adult, But I believe it's an economic move.
But I'm gonna tell you like this, right? I think when you get older, I just think, even as adults, you feel very uncomfortable feeling like you have to lie to anybody, and that's just man shit,
Right.
like.
Well, you shouldn't have to.
Yeah, but
I did, and that's what deterred me all that time.
there. That's man shit.
I just wanted to
Exactly.
be able to say I did it this way, and there's no asterisk.
I mean, but I'm just talking about just I'm talking lying in general. You know what I'm saying?
Just
Like,
looking someone in the eye and just telling them what they probably don't want to hear, but it's just the right thing to do, and you'll deal with the consequence, whatever it may be.
brother, I love the freedom. I'm talking about. I just love the fucking freedom of not having to
Yeah, you don't got to think.
duck,
Yeah,
hide,
exactly.
manipulate my opinion. There's nothing more, and this is to the listener. There's nothing more freeing than owning your own life. I own my truth. I own my reality. I own everything that I'm about is me. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to be a fucking bitch. I don't have to kiss
Free
no
of influence
ass.
too, right?
100%.
It's like I'm making this decision solely based on what's in here, not the noise out here. Anybody connected to me, it's just like I want to do this, and so many people make decisions with all these these influences in their head, and I can identify with that 100% because I don't need anyone else to be happy. Like once you get to that point, you're like, sure, other people add to it. That's fantastic, but I've worked through behavioral practices to get to a point where I don't need anyone else to be happy because I just live in truth. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm gonna tell you another place where I'm happy from last week. You know that podcast about not settling.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that was much about a house. That was like other areas of my life. I'm gonna tell you like this.
You was working through some stuff, bro.
It's funny how you can unlock something where it's not about a house. It's just about all your other business and what you accept from people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I stepped away. It started as don't settle for a house, but there was something locked in my brain that was allowing me to settle for other stuff. You feel where I'm coming from?
You were a limiting factor.
It was something somewhere else, somewhere in my life, and I start calling people. I said, I can't settle for this. That's why if you look on my IG, I said, it's either you making it happen or you making excuses.
Yeah.
I can't
You're a champ or a chump.
You're a champ or a chump.
I love that.
It really hit me in my. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It hit me in my brain.
I never seen you shake. I was telling Corey, your leg was going 100 miles an hour.
Oh I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like just in my head. I was just like, man. I was like, why are you even, like, why are you suppressing yourself? You know what I'm saying? Why are you suppressing yourself and how you really feel about stuff? Either about your performance, what you deliver to our company, why am I even accepting or helping you to find excuses on why something isn't getting done? And then clearly articulating what I do and I don't accept, but then hearing the people's responses, but then seeing the results. Like, no, this is what I want. Like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is how we going to do it. Either you can make it happen or not. Either you want to make it happen or not. If you can't make it happen,
somebody will make it happen.
But not brutal, but
Yeah.
This is what I want to make happen. You know what I'm saying? So even somebody sent me a house the other day. I don't want this.
Right.
Oh, it's a nice house. To you, I don't want it though.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But like how
Facts.
freeing that felt to me, but I can tell they felt uncomfortable with me saying it to them because when I said it to them, they thought it was a nice house because they thought their house was nice.
Sure.
And then when I
You
said,
were like, nah.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
So y'all know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm coming from?
Sure.
So I say, no, this is not what I want.
Yeah, for me, it's not a nice. Yeah, it's not what you want.
But then they look at me like, and they say, okay, well, you're not even living in something like this
fuck
now.
you, don't judge me.
Yeah, but I said, I don't care. That's not what I want.
Right.
So
yeah,
I said, Reese, go get what you want.
Right.
And I explained to my girl, this is not what I want. We're going to get what we want. Like, if you got to choose, why not choose what you want?
Right.
You know, so if you have to run a business, why not choose what you want? If this is what you want, like, if you're not going to make it happen and you're not going to make it happen, get them out of here. You know what I'm saying? You lying to yourself. And so, like, the never settle conversation, it wasn't just for a house.
I think that's a good one to have with yourself often.
The
house was the vehicle.
The house,
the house helped me to unlock. The house helped me to unlock something else inside myself to say, Reese. But then that's moving your life into a different paradigm. Like, these are big boy decisions. Just as the house is a big boy decision, or it's not the biggest thing. It's another decision that's made as you transcend. There's other decisions in your business that you
I
have
just think
to
you're
make.
breaking into all kinds of new areas right now.
Brother, I am.
And I went through the same thing. It feels really awkward.
Listen to me. It feels very awkward because it's new space that you're charting, and you know what you do.
But you're supposed to be there.
But that's the feeling of
growth. Yeah.
Listen, you like this in the water. You're like, okay,
yeah,
okay,
right.
All right,
no,
fuck
it is okay. That's
yeah.
That's where I'm at. Hey, hey, look.
But that's what we do here at Business and Biceps.
Yeah, but
breaking
you know
the
what?
new growth.
Fuck yeah! When you pull out the emotion though, and you always take the worst case scenario. So if you're stressing on this house, it's got this price tag. It's like, okay, if the red zone went down today, what the fuck would I be doing? Okay, I got speaking, I got this, and oh, by the way, I'm fucking, rolling right now. We're growing. Like, what the fuck am I scared of?
Yeah,
Wake up!
Nothing. Literally.
Yeah.
So I've told myself that these are other things. These are just my personal things. I want to purchase this home with other stuff that I have going on, not my main thing. And so the main thing, obviously, is the cushion.
That.
You feel where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Just watch how
that makes easy decisions.
Make it
I
easy,
remember
yes.
that, Bo.
Make
I
it
use
easy,
I
yes.
use that. I use that in a couple things when I was talking to people. I use that.
So
I like that.
why listen to me? So I need my dreams to be easy yeses. Easy yeses. This is an easy yes. If I have to struggle for it or I have to think about it, obviously I'm not where I want to be. And so I seen something on I told you I seen something online. The guy was talking about when a big moment comes, instead of shrinking and say, how do I take away expenses? No, motherfucker, how do you grow the top line to make this thing easier? And it hit me in my head. I was like, why the fuck am I even thinking about taking shit away? How do you grow this motherfucker so much to where what we're talking about is
putting
nothing?
a ceiling on it.
Right. I don't know if I talked to you or Corey. I was talking about this. I was like, okay, how the fuck do we make max effort bigger? You know what I'm saying? How the fuck do we, fuck cutting away, fuck taking away? You want more, do more. How the fuck do we take this thing to the next level?
This podcast.
Yeah. How do you take it to the next level? How do you do more? How do you become more? How do you get more? How do you earn more? How's your life in that prosperous mode all the time? Yeah. If it causes more for you, if it causes us to do a better show, if it causes us to do just whatever it is, I'm down for it. You know what I'm saying? And so you're never going to look at me and say, okay, he doesn't want to get better. He doesn't want to get better.
It's always change. It's always change.
Brother,
you do
listen
the same thing, you get the same results, buddy.
Man, but I'm where I'm at right now. That house conversation, whether y'all know it or not, that house conversation brought me here. I said, fuck this shit, man. I said, man, go be more. Go get exactly what the fuck you want.
Internal talk, boy.
That internal talk. But and it's so crazy because everybody has the ability to talk to themselves like that.
Everybody does.
I do it every morning for
I
about
call
a half
myself
hour.
a little bitch.
I swear to God. I mean, Corey thought I was crazy the first time I told him. I'm like, that's the first thing I do in the morning. I talk to myself for a half hour.
Yeah, I
Every
talk
morning.
to myself not quite for a half hour, but I tell myself in weightlifting, hey, you little bitch ass hoe, get this.
He said, go
I say it to myself all the time. Same shit in business. It's
Go
so
get it.
different. Yeah.
get it.
I go way deeper.
Yeah, you go way deeper.
Oh yeah, I gotta understand everything well beyond myself. Myself is the starting point, not the ending point.
That doesn't surprise me after talking to your mom.
Yeah.
I bet you probably really. I mean,
man, this to me.
your mom was deep, dude.
His mother gave us like
I know.
fucking.
Bro, when I was 5 years old, I'd be like, huh? You should be talking to me the same way. I'd be like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, what, ma?
Yeah, your
Like,
mother, yeah,
I can see that.
but I can see how your mother just float through life though. Like like just seeing her, like one thing I found out: the more books I read, the more spiritual I become, the more isolated I like to be. You know, just really
Yeah.
floating into my own space, be by myself, think by myself. I even see it how, you know, just even from a and this was another cue to get to old school.
Yeah,
Even
you should come to fucking old school.
I'm becoming more easily irritable at the gym with motherfuckers like this. Like you be in the middle of working out.
You know when you go sweat it
dude,
at
yeah.
OSG, bro.
Nah,
Hey, but our music is good too.
yeah,
Should I sell you some more things?
Yeah.
Is there anything?
So to the listener, now,
but Mo, we talk about getting out of comfort zones
50,
real quick.
50 and
Corey won't come to yoga.
I've
So
done
yeah.
yoga
Corey
before.
preaches it. You preach it. Come on over, brother.
Not interested in yoga.
Come on over, brother, and then we'll reciprocate. We got to get outside our comfort zone, squat boy.
Come
on, squat boy.
I have zero interest.
Come on,
in,
squat boy.
I have
He ain't trying to
zero
hear it
interest
now.
in
No,
yoga.
he's not trying to hear it.
Zero
Come
interest
on.
in yoga.
You can't put on that suit in yoga, man. Come on.
Out of here. I hear all the other shit y'all are talking about the yoga. I'm trying to lift fucking weights.
I
What the
do-
fuck you guys are doing?
I do that too.
So I probably I did make a commitment to myself. I probably won't live for like the next 60 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my goal is to hit 5 miles every day.
There you go.
So I went from doing a 5K once a week, and I said, "Fuck, I'm gonna do 5 miles every day." So today I did it, and like I time myself for the amount of time if I need a rest. So I can get to 40 minutes right now running nonstop.
That's good, Mo.
40 minutes or so. For
That's a
the,
big boy running that long.
yeah. So the goal, the whole goal
Seven.
is to just
Hey.
end up getting to a half marathon. So half marathon
cool.
is 13 and what is it, 13.5?
Yep.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
You know, so they told me you run what is it, you run 5 miles during the week, and then you add on, and then you run 7. So you run 5 miles each day during the week. Then you run 7.5 on the last day, and then you go 5 miles, and then you run 10 miles. 5 miles, and then the last day you run 10. Then you run 5 miles again. Then you run 12.5. Then
You work your way up to
you
it.
work your way out. But they say you're supposed to do it after a taxing week, and then when it's time to run, you scale back for like a week, and then
Yeah,
you
you
just run the
taper
whole
back
race.
and then
Yeah,
kill
so-
it. John, anything else before we wrap it up?
You know, honestly, I was just thinking about, you know, when you guys popped up my mom, it's just like the one thing that I take from, you know, hearing that stuff my whole life is that when I ask her, you know, how's your day, you know, stuff, it's like this. It's like, you know, the sun was out. I fed the birds. It was an amazing day. And she has this little place. I can't buy her a house. She won't let me. She won't move out of this little place. She has her books. She has the birds. She has the sunlight. And I will say there's no person happier in the world I've ever met.
I believe it 100%.
And to me, it's like, okay, that's an indicator. How do I get? And it doesn't have to be birds and that, but how do I get there?
Your version.
Right, my version.
Nah, I'm
like
gonna tell you,
that.
I give you this. I don't want to say I'm where your mother's at, but I get it. So just think about this. I have fun taking bread out to the birds yesterday. Right, so I went outside and I was in the backyard and we had some bread. It was kind of old, but I was like, to the birds, this is new. And so, yeah, you know,
It's just some wonder bread to the
yeah.
birds.
But the birds, it was new.
yeah, but I was thinking like, you know, why
It's
waste it?
harmony, by the way. That's what she's got, ultimate harmony.
Ultimate harmony, and I'm like, feed the birds get a chance to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I look at it as like you're giving to the world, you're giving to life. You know what I'm saying? And you're not being wasteful. But then I was sitting in the backyard, and I'm watching the birds. Like, so it's funny. You watch the birds; they come up on the fence post, and then they look around like, okay, is this a fucking setup?
Right. Totally.
And then one bird go.
He's got the balls to
Yeah,
come down
yeah.
and be like,
He
what's
come
up?
and grab it.
Yeah.
He get back on the fence post. He go around, but then he leave, right?
Yeah.
So then he go tell his other homeboys like, "Yo, some
Yeah.
bread over there," right? So whatever language they have,
boy.
Whatever.
yeah. So then they all came over, and so then they come and they get to picking, and then they get back on the fence post, and then they go back to wherever they were. But I was like, wow, this is just like cool shit, right? But this is totally opposite. Just think about this, right? So probably since for so many years, and this was even guys in prison, even in prison when the holidays becomes, holidays were associated. Like this is like the national day for everybody to get fucked up. Every holiday is like everybody drink, drug. You know what I'm saying? For like the holidays, everybody believes it, right? And so I just was thinking to myself, like, damn, how different this is, or just how like you just think about how different your life has become. You know what I'm saying? And so you start to get fortunate. Like I'm fortunate to not be in that. And you don't even know you was in something. And I'm not criticizing somebody who was in something, but you're not in that. You're not in that cycle of let me get like my ultimate. Like some people's ultimate highs to say like I'm getting fucked up. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to alter my mood, alter my reality. I'm glad that I'm out of that space. You know what I'm saying, in my life. I'm happy. 2 days, and I keep on saying it. I was driving here. I'm like, man, 2 days. My guy from 18 years is coming home from prison. But I'm happy that I can be a positive influence to him. You know what I'm saying? And like not like hey John, come and take this weed, come and take this dope, come and take some bullshit and stuff like that. And so I can see how you say your mother's happy from simplicity and harmony. In some ways, I have it in my life right now without like, I don't have like no external shit that that.
I know. I feel that 100%. Like that's part of why I moved out with all that land. It's because you can. That's part of the reason why I like golf so much.
Right.
In the morning when I'm out there, if I'm playing by myself, there's nothing else happening.
You play golf by yourself?
All the time, almost every day.
I don't know.
Yeah, because it's another way of like meditation. I can think.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, when me and John are out playing, we're having a beer or something, laughing about the week, and yeah, that's a different type of golf, right? In the mornings, a lot of times I play before I come here. There's no one out anywhere close by. I see a dude mowing grass here and there, but it's all thought. Sometimes I'll listen to Napoleon Hill. Sometimes I'll just play and just listen to the birds.
Right.
Same stuff as when part of the reason why I built
I didn't even know people play golf by themselves.
Yep. Part of the reason why I built the outdoor gym is the same way. In the mornings, I can come home. I'm super creative. I can hear the birds chirping. I can do this. I can do content, or I cannot. I can just sit there, think about what we're going to do. It's the same type of thing. Part of the reason why I wanted that land was really because of what he just explained. Because of growing up that way, being in the country, and then understanding, like, if you got a chance to and do that, and whether it's a book, whether it's music, whether it's golf, whatever, just having those things in your life is huge for the harmony, I think. So I like it.
Oh, and if y'all haven't checked it out, listen to the classical music on Pandora.
There you go.
I enjoy the classical station.
Oh yeah.
I need to get better at that.
Oh, I'm serious.
Oh, it'll put you in a space. Yeah, like there's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like an emotion. Each song is like an emotion. It's really it's strong.
All right, you guys, make sure and hit that subscribe button and leave a positive comment. I think you had to get something out of all that.
I mean, come on. I mean,
Let's go. Let's run down
Yeah.
all the movies real quick though. John, yours was.
There Will Be Blood.
Yep.
Shawshank Redemption. Fog of War.
Very deep, solid movies. Mine was Karate Kid, Rocky, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and I'll just go throw it in there. I like Goonies. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, if you get a chance, check out 13th. Check out Boys in the Hood, and Boys in the Hood mainly not for the violent content or the cultural aspect, but like really focusing on the dynamic or the perspective of the roles that are played. That was a good thing, and also the same thing with Menace to Society. But I think those are three solid films that I think will help. But I think they all probably you can catch them on Netflix or this day people got Fire Sticks now, so you can catch them.
My movie cred is not very strong. I need to up my movie cred.
I mean,
I'm gonna listen. I'm gonna watch it. I think it's because I have a hard time sitting down for 2 hours and watching something, unless I'm really into it. And there's other things I just watched when I was a kid. But the Fog of War is very interesting to me, and the 13 I'll probably watch first.
13.
That
good.
one, me and Rach could watch that for sure.
Yeah.
So all right, subscribe. Because, we were number 5 in business the other day, mofos.
Oh,
And that's because you're
shit.
subscribing. That's because you're leaving a positive comment. That's because you're leaving a review. That's pretty big time, not going to lie.
It's big
Out
time.
of all of iTunes.
Big timers.
But it's only because of you guys, the listener.
Absolutely.
And make sure you shop. You go to shop.bstseafood.com. We'll give you 15% off. Use the code BIZBIS15. Fresh East Coast seafood delivered straight to your door overnight.
Ooh, Boston. East Coast over.
Boston Sword
East
and
Coast
Tuna.
over. The Cleveland Cavs took them out. The 3-pointers weren't dropping.
Yeah, they did. Scary Terry didn't have anything for him. He went 0 for 10, Mo. I know. It was bad.
Hey, man, I wanted it, but
Yeah.
it's fuck.
Can the podcast be stopped?
The podcast can't be stopped!